the far red and infrared light has a regenerative potential. And nothing bothers me anymore. You just, if a feeling is troubling you, you just watch it, and then you remember you're the watcher, not the being watched. At this stage in life, I want to do more for the witness rather than for me as a person. So just like to talk a little bit about regenerative and anti-aging here.
Dr. Satbir Aulakh, thanks very much for joining us on the Next Gen North podcast.
Thank you for having me, Stuart.
No worries. It's Darwin Show Day today, so it's a public holiday. We appreciate your time. Do you get much time off as a doctor?
I do get Sundays off.
Yep.
I spend most of the time doing household chores and meditation, which I've started.
Okay. Yeah. What sort of meditation do you do, if you don't mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, so meditation has been last couple of years. It's just sitting in a chair and trying to watch your thoughts and feelings, and then at some stage you realize that the one who's watching is not you, and then it's a very awesome feeling. And it used to take me half an hour to get to that zone. I can get in a bit quickly now. And it's the feeling of you just get detached from your mind and then watch your mind.
Wow.
It's a new thing, and I'm loving it.
Because I think because my life has become more stressful of late, I've got a few things on my plate. I've got a baby daughter now.
Oh, wow.
She's 1 year old, about 16 months almost. So, I'm juggling a lot of things, and I've always been interested in meditation as a way to sort of, like you say, just sort of declutter your mind and listen to your own thoughts and that sort of thing. How did you get into meditation? Is it through an app, or was it just like through religion, or just an interest of yours?
It was just an interest, and I was trying to one day just watch my breath, and as I was watching the breath, and I realized I wasn't the one who was breathing, I was the watcher.
Wow.
And then you start watching the thoughts, and then you're not the one who's thinking. You're not the thought itself. You're the watcher who's watching the thought, and same the watcher who's watching the emotion. As long as you relate to the watcher and not to the observed.
Okay.
The observer, not the observed. There's no anxiety. There's no depression, no low mood.
So has it helped you in just day-to-day life? And
it has made me a lot calmer. Nothing bothers me anymore. You just if a feeling is troubling you, you just watch it, and then you remember you're the watcher, not the being watched.
Right. It seems like it's working, because you seem like a very calm, down-to-earth person. So it's very good. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from originally? Maybe your personal story. I think it'd be very interesting to hear.
I'm from India. I was born in the state of Punjab.
Okay.
Which is up north, borders Pakistan.
Yep.
So as you know, India is like a subcontinent. Every state is a different culture, language, script, and everything. So I went to school in the state of Punjab, and then I did my medicine in Assam, which is northeast of India, borders China.
Okay.
It's quite around 2,000 kilometers from where I was born.
Yeah.
Enjoyed every bit of it. The medical school was amidst all these beautiful tea gardens. Did my medicine and went to UK for a few years.
Okay.
And then ended up coming to Australia, which I'm very happy and thankful, in 2005.
Right. So Punjab, I think I've heard a lot about Punjab over the years. Is that where Sikhism is prevalent, or does it originate from there?
It originates from Punjab, yes.
Yeah, wow. Because Sikhs I've found are very charitable people, and I'm not sure if you're a Sikh.
I'm a Sikh.
You are a Sikh?
Yes.
They're very, you find in all this, like I've traveled quite a lot over the years, and a lot of the societies that I've found where Sikhs are, they're often doing charity work, and they assimilate very well into the societies that they have joined. Is that your experience?
That is my experience, yes. It's a lot to, I think they believe in giving and sharing. So,
right.
That's how you spread the love.
Yeah. So does Sikhism, I guess, bring a lot of tourists to Punjab? Is there, I don't know, what sort of temples or places of worship you have there?
There's the Golden Temple,
wow.
which is made of gold, solid gold. I think it was constructed way back, I might be wrong, 16th century.
Yep.
Or 17th. It brings in some tourists. Actually, no, I'm lying. A lot of tourists. A lot of tourists now. I think Sikhs worldwide, they like to go there for pilgrimage.
Right.
And so, but it's not the most visited state in India.
Okay.
India has other, being a big country, and India's got deserts and beaches, and up in the north, Himalayas, and so it's a blend of everything.
Right, and I've understand the lassi is also from Punjab. Is that right?
Punjab, yeah, that's
because I do love a lassi, and not just your mango lassi, but I stumbled upon a salty lassi.
Yes,
which is the most unique drink I've just about ever had. But because I quite like savoury sort of stuff, the salty lassi, because it's like a salty yogurt drink. Is that?
It is. It is. And it's rich in probiotics, and it's quite healthy actually.
Yeah, I guess you know from
lot of protein, no carbs if it's salty. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was life like in Punjab? Was it a nice life? Was it quiet? Was it busy? What was life like there for you as a young person?
As a young person, it was a lot of studying.
Okay.
I was lucky enough for my father and mum, and they supported me right till I could find a job, which was when I left India.
Yep.
So until I was in my late 20s, I lived with my parents.
Yep.
A comfortable life. I was privileged to go to private schools. So it was not bad at all.
Was there a lot of family pressure for education? Is that a cultural thing from Punjab? Or was that just more your parents?
Yeah, it's a bit of an Indian thing, I think.
Right.
They tell you pretty much what you want to do, what they want you to do.
Doctor, lawyer, engineer,
something like that.
all that sort of stuff.
My dad was a GP. He's passed.
Oh wow!
But he said, well, you should be a doctor, and there was not much. I had a choice in that. So it didn't force me, but there was always a suggestion that I should be a doctor.
Yeah. So what prompted you to leave Punjab? I guess it must have been, was it educational opportunities, economic opportunities? What was the sort of motivation for actually leaving Punjab?
A bit of both. With the population exploding, there's not many jobs. So the trend in India and Punjab is most doctors would end up going to the UK. And it has continued since my father was doctor, and even before that, being part of the Commonwealth. So everyone tries to go to UK, get their higher degrees or PhDs, and then come back or settle down in the UK.
Yep.
So I went to the UK with the same approach.
Okay.
Luckily or unluckily for me, the EU had just been created, and Indian doctors found themselves out of jobs because obviously the hospitals were obliged to give jobs to EU members first.
Okay.
Which is rightly so. I mean, no, we don't have regrets about that. But anyway, it was a very hard market to get a job. So I'm talking about the year 2004, and I realized you would get a job, and then for months there wouldn't be a job. So,
yep.
And I thought, no, that is it. I'm trying to look for greener pastures elsewhere.
Yep.
And I came across this ad, Mount Gambier Hospital in South Australia, looking for a doctor.
The Mount.
The Mount.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought, okay, great. I'll go to the tropical. I had this picture. It's going to be warm.
Yeah.
Beaches and blue water, and I could just wear shorts, and it'll be so great. But I was so wrong. It was a bit colder than London.
Yeah. So the Mount was colder than London, I found?
So, yeah, it was very cold.
Yeah, right.
And it pretty much is like 10 months a year we have winters there.
Yep. Because it's a bit inland, isn't it?
The Mount? Bit inland, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. People with warm hearts, but cold country.
Yeah, and there is blue water there, but it's in the big lake, isn't it?
Big lake, yeah, that's right. And Port Macdonald, this water is so cold you wouldn't go to the beach.
Right.
Yeah, just look at it.
So how long did you stay there for?
I was just short of 3 years.
Yep.
In the Mount. So.
Okay. And did you enjoy your time there? I know a lot of people from Mount Gambier. I went to university in South Australia.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, and I've got lots of family from South Australia. Right. But yeah, Mount Gambier, it's a nice little town.
Nice little town. Very clean, nice town, Blue Lake.
Yep.
I met my wife there and we got married.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Mount Gambier has had a big influence.
Yep. So after the Mount, what sort of turn did life take after the Mount Gambier?
I wanted to get into general practice, and I was working in a hospital there.
Yep.
And I thought, let me try north, and I want to go to somewhere warm. I always wanted to go to somewhere nice and warm.
Right.
And I applied to the general practice network in Northern Territory, and they were happy to have me here.
Yep.
And they paid relocation package, and I ended up in Humpty Doo.
Oh, wow.
For I think that was 3 years.
Yep.
I worked in Humpty Doo.
So that must have been a different experience. The people, people at Humpty Doo. Was there any differences between, I guess your clientele, your colleagues, that sort of thing, from Mount Gambier, the UK to Humpty Doo?
Humpty Doo.
Yeah.
Humpty Doo was very relaxed.
Yep.
Obviously from UK. From Mount Gambier, it was more like obviously the tropical conditions that you see, the mango rash I'd never seen, the bites from animals and all that. You don't get to see much. So that was a bit different, but everything else is pretty similar.
And how have you found the weather? When you say you're looking for somewhere warm, is that sort of you're looking for somewhere similar to your childhood? And have you found that the weather is somewhat similar?
Well, where I grew up gets very harsh winters and very, very, very harsh summers.
Right.
And there's autumn and spring, so there's 4 seasons.
Okay.
I think Darwin reminds me of places down south of India, where like Goa or Kerala, where it's more tropical.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somewhere with no winter, is that what you're sort of looking for? Yeah. And so I came across you at the Ageless Clinic. So is that you said you came in? So you spent 3 years in the Mount.
Yes.
What year did you arrive in the Territory?
2007 Christmas. Christmas Eve we arrived.
Okay. And you got into, was it general practice, you said?
General practice, yes.
So what does that mean? Does that mean establishing your own clinic, or do you join someone else, or how does that work?
Yeah, I joined Arafura Medical Centres.
Yep.
And their Humpty Doo wing, I was working there for 3 years.
Yep.
And then me and few other colleagues that I'd met along the way during conferences, we decided to start our own clinic at the Top End Medical Center in Casuarina.
Okay.
That was the first one that came along. And after that, a few other clinics came along, and I was one of their, a group of directors. I decided about opening something more holistic because I had this, I'd been reading a lot about holistic medicine, medicine that caters to regeneration,
right?
And which I was very keen on practicing. So Ageless came along in 2014.
Right. So is that kind of Top End Medical and then Ageless? Are they, for lack of a better word, and this, excuse my ignorance, is that kind of like franchising in a sense, or how does that sort of work different from, say, like getting into a McDonald's or something with a brand name attached to it?
So Ageless is my clinic, so I'm the sole director.
Oh, right.
Top End Medical Center, I'm one of the few partners. So,
right.
So and it works. That model works well because general practice is the need of the hour.
Yep.
Everyone needs to see their GP, so need more such doctors. But
yep.
Regenerative medicine is a new buzzword. Since the time we were born to the time we die, we are degenerating.
Okay.
So this is an attempt to stop that degeneration and repair.
Right. And is that brought about because people are living longer now and they sort of want to make their quality of life while they're here better? Because like I guess in the 1800s you're probably living to about 40, if you were lucky. And now people just seem to be living, 90 plus a lot of the time just through medicine.
Through medicine,
yes. How have you found that sort of development?
Yes, true. So people are living longer. People are living, I think, better quality of life.
Yep.
But in the later years, the quality of life tends to dive down a bit. So my attempt is to keep the quality of life better and maybe give some extra years. So,
yep.
So hence the word ageless. So.
Yeah. Because I guess the more people are living, we sort of enter into a new paradigm where there's probably not a lot of data for people that are living, 80, 90 plus, and then how to keep them healthy and vibrant and that sort of thing. So yes. I'm sure that that your line of work is just going to continue to grow and grow. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So Ageless itself, I came across you after had some of my own ailments. I had a lot of, I guess, soft tissue injuries post sporting career or lack thereof. I had a lot of problems with my feet, my shin pain, that sort of thing. And I went to a friend of mine who's a physio, and we gave it a really good crack to fix my I had what's called plantar fasciitis, or there's another term, fascio.
No, I think that's right.
That's it. I thought I heard that there was another term. Anyway, it feels like someone's sticking a hot knife in your foot every time you sort of wake up after being sedentary for a little while, watching TV or laying down in bed or whatever. Very painful, and tried to go the physiotherapy route. And yeah, like I said, gave a real good crack. But then he said, "Oh, you need, we've tried everything. It's not responding." He said, "You've got to go and see Dr. Satbir." And I went, "Okay, who's that?" Anyway, he referred me to you, and I went into your clinic, and you diagnosed my plantar fasciitis, and then prescribed me a treatment called prolotherapy, which I'd never heard of. Can you tell us a little bit about prolotherapy?
So prolotherapy, the word prolotherapy comes from proliferative therapy, to proliferate the tissue. And it's an old treatment, believe it or not, from the 1930s. There was a gentleman called Gregory Hackett who started injecting. He was a surgeon, doctor in the US back then. And he started injecting sugar into tendons, ligaments, bursa, muscles in older people that was not healing. So the problem is, as we're getting older, our ability to regenerate is getting lesser and lesser. And then part of it comes from you can't reach enough blood supply, enough nutrients to the areas that are damaged. As teenagers, we would repair the plantar fascia overnight, but fast forward someone in their 30s, you would have a bit of a problem, because the nutrients, the growth factors, the stem cells are not reaching those tendons and fascia because of the lack of blood supply, and that's part of aging.
Right.
So proliferative therapy or prolotherapy is a very inexpensive way of increasing the blood supply, a bit like how the physios do with suction cups, or a bit like how the masseuse does with digging their elbows and knees into the area, making them bruised. So you're pretty much causing bruising, but in a very surgically precise manner by putting the needle, as you know, your anatomy, you just drive the needle right where the problem is, inject some liquid dextrose, but you've got to mix a little bit of anesthetic because dextrose can be painful.
Right.
So the injection is pretty much painless. You feel the needle and that's it. And you dump a lot of sugar there. And that sugar, as we all know, is very inflammatory.
Right.
It causes a fake inflammation there. And that inflammation brings the attention of the healing. So your growth factors, all the platelets, stem cells maybe, they get there and start healing.
Yeah, because it was amazing. After a few treatments, it completely cured my problem, which I haven't really had much luck with before. I've had a few things. I've had a bit of, like I said, shin pain and foot pain in my feet, and that actually completely cured it. And I think I remember you saying that as we age, our tissue, and I think it's the fascia, becomes sort of white. And is it anemic? Lack of
blood supply.
Lack of blood supply, and it's a simple sugar, isn't it? Dextrose. Like it's not a crazy concoction of
No, there's no drug in it.
Yeah, it's which I found quite amazing. Like something so simple.
It is.
Yeah, sorry.
And I have been injecting sugar into carpal tunnels. The sheet that covers over the carpal tunnel often squishes the nerve, the median nerve, so hence giving rise to carpal tunnel syndrome. So putting a little bit of sugar there releases the nerve. I mean, heals the retinaculum, the band of tissue that encircles that area. So you could inject it into the carpal tunnel. You could inject it into the spine, the lower back pain, the neck pain, the facet joints. You can inject it into the rotator cuff, the bursa, the golfer's elbow, the tennis elbow, and anywhere where it hurts, you can put some sugar as long as you know where you're instilling the sugar.
Yeah, well, it was fascinating to me because, it seemed like a fairly cheap treatment as well, and the fact that when I went in there and you did my feet and then you said, look, if you've got any other sort of sore points, I can basically do your whole body and it's not going to cost any extra. It's, you know, the cost is for your expertise to administer it. But I guess because it's, you know, sugar's cheap, I guess.
It's cheap,
it was quite fascinating. So I just want to say thank you for first of all for helping me, because it has improved my quality of life. You know, even though I still feel fairly young and, you know, healthy, but that it really just changed everything. So I just wanted to say thank you. But is there any other treatments that you guys do that maybe aren't so commonly known? And I'm, you know, not trying to say this in a way, you know, to promote certain therapies or whatever, you know, trying to make sure we stay within the bounds of regulation and that sort of thing. But things that aren't maybe as commonly known, but clients have sort of said, Doctor, thank you so much. This, you know, I wasn't aware of it, and this has really helped improve my quality of life.
So regenerative treatments would include prolotherapy. Sometimes we can inject platelet-rich plasma, which is a person's own blood, taken spun in a centrifuge, and the platelets can be injected to all those areas that we just mentioned with prolotherapy. PRP has slightly better outcomes in knee joint pains and hip joint pain. So joints, big joints, you need a little bit more growth factors, and platelet-rich plasma is the superior option for big joints, I find. We also check postmenopausal women, or women approaching menopause, and balance their hormones. Perimenopause age is a wide number of years from mid-40s to late 50s and 60s, and balancing the hormones is quite important.
Okay.
So we could individualize the treatment by checking their saliva levels and balancing the hormones.
And what does balancing the hormones do to help someone? Is it around improving sort of mood and that sort of thing, or is it actually more like a biological health outcome?
A bit of both. Women tend to go through a lack of progesterone in their early 40s to depletion of estrogen in the 50s and beyond. So progesterone lack makes them very, very anxious. They can start feeling a bit bloated. They can start getting migraines. They can start getting emotionally quite
careful, doctor.
They feel a bit emotional.
I know.
Sure. A little bit emotional around, you know, a week prior to having their periods. And water retention, sometimes migraines, and just giving progesterone, balancing their progesterone, and that can sort out all those symptoms. Adding estrogen closer to 50 also clears their mind, the brain fog, forgetting names and birthdays and all that. It's just a little bit of estrogen can do that, and then we can check their levels and then tailor make it accordingly. So everyone has they're on a different spectrum to, as far as aging is concerned, and everybody needs a different script.
So
that's something we can do.
It's
more like tailored to the wellness. Prevention is the idea at Ageless. We don't try to cure anything other than that.
I had another thing that you offered, I think it was called infrared sauna treatment or something like that. Felt a bit like I was Donald Trump or something, you know, like I went in there and laid on a massive sort of sunbed type contraption. Is that what it was?
Yes.
And what does that type of therapy help?
So the red light and infrared, the far red and infrared light has a regenerative potential. That light in that wavelength can stimulate the stem cells.
Okay.
So if a person is lacking lacking regeneration in certain part of the body, that light can actually provide the energy for the cells to start multiplying and creating that worn and torn tissue. So it's just a good regenerative red light path that we should encourage.
Can you explain a little bit? You mentioned stem cells there, and that seems to have been historically a bit of a trigger word, and I think that was because of taking stem cells from, I think, aborted fetuses at one stage, and it sort of was very controversial. But can you just explain a little bit about why stem cells are important, or, you know, what their role is in regenerative health?
Stem cells are present in all the parts of our body. So we have stem cells everywhere. When you're putting prolotherapy, like we said, proliferative therapy, you're getting all the blood flowing.
Yep.
You're actually getting more stem cells attracted to that area. Even with platelet-rich plasma, when we take someone's blood, when we spin it, we get some stem cells floating in the serum. So stem cells are everywhere. As we're aging, our stem cells are aging as well. So their ability to regenerate is being diminished.
Right.
So when we talk about infrared light or PRP, we're actually just enhancing the body's own stem cells. So what you're talking about is getting stem cells from fetuses, which is not allowed.
Yep.
But your own autologous stem cells are part of your own body.
Right.
So the science says the various ways of enriching, your own blood with stem cells, or you can sometimes take a sample of fat from someone's abdominal fat,
Yep.
and then enrich that fat, and then inject it into certain joints, and that will have some stem cells that will start working and repairing the tissue.
Yeah. Where do you sort of see the world of regenerative medicine going in future? And how much of a role does someone like you play in that, with your own practice? Say someone's been doing some sort of novel research or, trying new things over in America or whatever. How does that, where do you sort of see that going first and foremost? And then how easy or how difficult is that to incorporate into your own sort of treatment portfolio?
Well, first of all, the treatment has to be passed by the TGA. So we can only practice those treatments here.
That's Therapeutic Goods
Administration.
Yeah.
So obviously everything is passed by TGA. That happens in this country. Keeping your ears and eyes open and anything new in the horizon, studying it and getting educated in that, getting trained, and bringing it over here as long as it's allowed.
Yeah. Is that expensive?
Education can be expensive, especially living in Darwin. You've got to fly for, even for small courses, you've got to go to the eastern states.
Right.
But often you've got to go overseas and learn a few.
Yeah. And is there anything on the horizon that you sort of think you'd like to bring to Darwin?
Not at this stage, I think, but I'm always keen and keeping my eyes and ears open.
Yep. All right. Well, music. So there's a different side to you outside of the medical profession.
Mm-hmm.
You're a musical performer. How did that come about? What was your sort of what were your early influences? Tell us how your musical journey began.
Mom says, and my cousins say that when I was a 3 or 4 year old, I used to hum along and sing, and they found that I could sing.
Right.
Growing up into a young child, I did want to pursue music, but again, the family pressures got to be a doctor, and then you can try whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So it took a backseat until 2015 when I released my first song on YouTube. And then I was lucky enough to have a few more songs. 2017, I collaborated with an artist from Pakistan called Rahat Fateh Ali Khan. And he's very well known worldwide in the genre of Sufi music. So I did a song with him. It had close to 14 million views back in the day.
Amazing.
I started my own channel in 2020. And I have a few songs there, and I've shot a lot of videos in and around Darwin.
Yep.
And I've been quite fortunate to have people like Simon Manzi from Global Headquarters and his team producing some videos for us.
So, was where you grew up in Punjab? You said you were 3 or 4 when your parents sort of noticed that you were humming along and that sort of thing. Was it a musical place? Was your household a musical household, or was it a little bit stricter, or how was that environment growing up?
I don't think so. My household was musical household, but Dad could do a little bit of percussion, and he used to hum along with popular songs.
Yeah,
and I think I probably have some genes from him.
Okay, and was Punjab, was that a musical place? Is music a part of the culture?
It is
out that way.
Yeah, it's very much part of the culture, the religion, and generations of the Sufi mystic the monks who have practiced music with spirituality.
Right. So you mentioned Sufi before when you were talking about collaborating with the Pakistani artist. Is Sufi, is that specifically from Punjab, or is that a more broad Indian style of music?
It is a more broad Indian style of music, but it comes from the northwest part of the country,
Right.
of undivided India.
Okay.
I think the mystics, the saints from that era, they were influenced by the Sufi culture, which
Right.
is, they believe in their gods themselves, and everyone is actually a walking god. Everybody is a walking god.
Yeah. And so what are the elements of Sufi music like? What makes it Sufi?
It's to do with, so you're addressing the God within you.
Okay.
So everything is about God that resides within you.
Yeah.
And to remind the person that they should not be carried away by cultures, religions, traditions, but look inside.
Right.
And see who you are.
Yeah.
A bit like the witness I was talking about.
Okay.
The witness inside you is the same as
Interesting.
called God.
So through meditation, you can almost find, some spirituality and that type of thing, connectedness.
And funnily, I've been singing Sufi songs all my life. I could never understand them. I didn't understand the gist of it. I thought they're being addressed to a girl, a woman, and someone out in the distance, where the writer has written a pretty woman addressing to her.
Yep.
But the more you go into meditation, the more you realize it's being addressed to the God within you.
Right. And through music, you learned the language of, is it the Sufi language? Is that?
It's Punjabi language.
Oh, it's Punjabi language.
Yes.
But so you didn't understand the songs?
I did understand, but I just understand for the literal meaning that the writers had written.
Okay.
But it goes much in depth once you start meditating, and a lot of things just open up once you meditate.
Right. So it's like a lot of art. It can be subjective and about sort of finding, meaningfulness to yourself. And
True.
Yeah.
And I think it might be a cliche, but silence teaches you a lot more than a lot of books can.
Right.
Or listening to people. But I think when you're silent, the book inside you teaches you a lot.
Right. Is that sort of where you've learned how to meditate? And
That's right, yeah.
So it's a book.
I mean, I think we are all books. We need to read ourselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, when people say, who do you follow when you meditate? I often say it's your own book.
Right.
When you go inside, when you shut your eyes, and you can learn a lot.
Yeah. So if anyone is looking to get into meditation, is the book inside, is that a good starting point, or is that something you'd recommend?
Yes. So it's not a book. I was saying that our body is a book, our mind is a book. So
right.
when you shut your eyes and if there is a third eye, when you turn it inwards, and you start reading things that get downloaded, which you have not experienced before. So
sorry, I apologize for misunderstanding. So, but is there a book, or is there a resource that people can access that you'd found useful?
I have not really read many books. They can follow the Truth Seekers.
Okay.
The Truth Seekers on Instagram. That is me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Check that out.
Check that out.
Yeah. We've got one of your videos, if it's okay if we play it. It was just one of the first ones that popped up when I checked out your YouTube channel. Ethan, if you could play that one, and we'll watch that one. Watch that one live.
सारे मिलके बोलो हे हो हे ओ सारे मिलके बोलो ਜਦੋਂ ਦੀ ਆਈ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਿੰਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਚੜਾਈ ਤੇਰੇ ਯਾਰ ਦੀ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਵਰਥ ਬੇਬੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਦੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਦੀ ਆਈ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਿੰਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਚੜਾਈ ਤੇਰੇ ਯਾਰ ਦੀ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਵਰਥ ਬੇਬੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਦੀ ਛੋਟੀ ਛੋਟੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਤੂੰ ਰੁੱਸਿਆ ਨਾ ਕਰ ਅੱਖੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਡਰ
Is that your Bentley?
It's the Rolls Royce.
Oh, sorry.
hide for the day.
All right. Can you just pause it there, Heath? Wow, very smooth.
No, thank you.
And look like quite a... Just leave that on the screen if you don't mind, Ethan. Look like quite a party.
Yes.
Are you able to just see it's got the credits there. Are you able to just tell us a little bit about maybe some of your collaborators and
Yes,
the people that you work with?
So Leader H is a rapper.
Yep.
He lives in Sydney.
That's that gentleman.
That's the gentleman who's rapping.
Yep.
And Devi Porter is a music producer. He lives in Canberra. Makeup artist Grace Kelly. She's down the street. She's a makeup artist here. Dancers from Rick's Kick Studio in Coconut Grove. Christy is the choreographer. She owns the Rick's Kicks Arts. I'm very thankful to.
I reckon she might have actually gone to my high school. I think she was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that just shows, Darwin's a small place, and
it is.
Yeah.
Simon Manzi, he's the gentleman I mentioned who runs global headquarters. Editor Bharat Mittal, he's in India. And Akshay is my manager, director. He lives in India as well.
Yep. And so where was that video shot?
All in Darwin. The first scenes are in Cullen Bay. And then there was at the Gateway Club.
Okay.
Gateway.
Oh, in Palmerston.
Yes, in Palmerston.
Yeah, right.
Yes. And then there is the pool party is in Berry Springs in someone's place.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, amazing. And it seems like there was a bit of, was it Spanish in there?
There's a bit of Spanish, and this is not Sufi.
Yeah, no.
Out and out commercial song. I was going through that phase in life where, you want to achieve more and more. To now where I'm more like finding myself. So, so I've changed sort of music I do.
And Bella Bella, I guess doesn't sound Punjab
Italian,
to me.
Yeah,
it's Italian.
Italian for a beautiful girl.
Right. So how do you say your I guess creative process has maybe changed a little bit. How do you sort of conceptualize a song? Where do you get an idea for the music that you make?
I'm not a very good lyricist, so I can come up with a tune, and I often run it past Devi in Canberra or Lida and say, I need some lyrics. So Lida wrote the lyrics for this song.
Yep.
So he had a bit of Spanish and Italian. Probably he's learned a bit.
Yep.
So I just had the tune in my head.
Okay, so is that sort of what you do? You come up with a tune and then
my tune,
work with it. Is it a band? Is that what you'd call it, or is it just sort of producers? Yeah.
Producers. So it could be Lida this time, or it could be someone in India.
Yep.
And I might just, if I know that's their genre, so I'll just send them the tune and say, create something around it. And often they just change it sometimes completely.
Right.
But I'm not a musician, so I can't sometimes have the final say in that.
And I mean, that had 2.3 million views on its own. Like, is it kind of weird to have that much sort of viewership of your music? Is it empowering? How does it sort of make you feel knowing that lots of people are listening to your music, watching your video clips, that sort of thing?
Again, back in 2022, I would have felt really good. You feel it affects your ego in a way which you feel that you are a music artist.
Right.
Currently, where the stage of life where I'm at, I don't like my ego getting boosted from anything. It's almost like if I do something, I feel like the universe wanted to get this thing done and I was instrumental. I was just a medium in getting it done. So if I was to think about that at this stage, maybe back then the universe wanted me to do something and I did my best. Currently, I'm not much into getting fame in terms of being a music artist. I do want to produce some good music, but I don't want to gain much from it.
It sounds like you've almost had ego death. Is that sort of how you describe it?
Probably is, yeah. Ego death to the point after a long meditation, sometimes you feel you don't even exist. You got to look into the mirror, oh, I do exist. You feel like part of the air. You're there, but you're not. Your identity is blended with the universe.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I guess now moving from that trending sort of party style of music, and you say that you want to make somewhat different music. What sort of music are you looking to make now? Is it more romance type? Is it ballads?
It's more ballads.
Yeah.
More ballads.
And is that drawn from your meditation and things like that, or is it just your life? How do you sort of conceptualize that type of music going forward?
I think I've gotten busier with work, and I want something more relaxing. And having a more party song, it sounds a bit more tiring.
Right.
So I want something that, when after meditation, sometimes you get these tunes in your head, and they're more relaxing, they're more soulful.
Yep. So what sort of songs out there that are similar to what you're describing that are sort of in popular culture that people might know? Is it popular? That style of music that you're talking about?
Probably not commercially popular.
Yep.
As much as one would expect.
Right.
But at this stage in life, I want to do more for the witness rather than for me as a person.
So okay. Now that's an interesting concept. I'm going to make sure I don't misunderstand it again. So you're not talking about a person in particular. You're sort of talking about yourself, removing from yourself. Is that right?
The higher self.
Right.
And the funny thing is, my higher self and your higher self is the same self.
Right. Well, that sounds like a deep rabbit hole to go down. Yeah, so we might save that for another podcast. How do you sort of see the Darwin music scene, if there is one? Have you been a part of that? How have you found it?
Oh, well, interesting you say that. I'm performing at the Darwin Festival on 16th of August.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of rock-style Sufi music.
Yep.
So we'll be at the Bamboo Stand from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. with a couple of breaks in between. So it's a long gig.
Yep.
So I have been performing with the Darwin Festival at the shows. I've performed quite a few India at Mindle Beach festivals. And then we used to do a lot of gigs around Happy Yes and other venues.
Yep.
I do have a band. We are called Pulse.
Okay.
Nothing medical about it. I'm the only doctor.
And what sort of songs will you be playing at the Darwin Festival? Is it that sort of style, or is it just a bit slower?
They're mostly Sufi, but they're with rock
elements.
Background.
Yep.
So there's drums, there's bass, and there's guitar.
Okay. And does the Sufi element overlap well? Do they merge well with the rock elements?
Yeah, it does. Actually, it's surprising. It works really well.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've done it ourselves in our, when we practice together, and we said, well, let's just blend some Sufi with rock.
Yep.
And try and create it's not original, but it's been created the way it is quite original.
Yep. And is there anything that the local scene could be doing better, do you think, in territory music, attracting maybe, Sufi artists or anything, or promoting local artists a bit better? Is there any improvements we could be making, you think?
I think I find myself very, very thankful and lucky to be in Darwin, where there's quite a bit of acknowledgement of my music. I mean, I don't do music much, but I still get invited to quite a few places.
Yep.
Obviously, it can get better with more people knowing about other alternative music genres.
Yep.
But I think Darwin Festival is when Darwin comes alive, and there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
Last night we were at Tina Turner's show.
Oh, cool.
That was amazing.
How was that? Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I do like Tina. Like the original. I haven't seen any sort of cover bands.
It was a cover, but it was good. It did justice to her.
Done well. Yeah. The territory more broadly. Do you sort of see this as a place to call home long term, or do you have sort of other plans going forward?
No, certainly call it home.
Yeah.
Have done for last coming close to 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And have you seen it change over the years? Has it changed for the better or for the worse, or sort of status quo?
No, I think it's status quo.
Yeah.
A lot more coffee places now, so that's good.
That's good. You drink coffee?
I drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah. Okay. That's a stimulant. How does that sort of interact with your meditation side of things?
Yeah. See, I practice a lot of fasting every day. So I would fast up to 20 hours a day.
Wow.
I only eat 4 hours window.
Yep.
And that is 7 days a week. And to keep myself going, I drink black coffee, water, and green tea during that time.
So what's your eating window then?
Would generally be from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Wow. And does that, I've heard of people doing the carnivore diet and then fasting and that sort of thing, does it burn more fat? Does it change your focus? What are sort of some of the benefits you've found from doing that?
So just like to talk a little bit about regenerative and anti-aging here. We found that what doesn't kill you makes you live longer, and you find that out in the wild, the plants, the animals that are not getting going through adversity are thriving better. There's work done by David Sinclair. He's worked on yeast cells, and he's found that when you subject the cells to intense cold, less calories, the yeast cells did better.
Yeah.
And we all know that we have evolved from yeast. Every creature and every plant on this planet has 70% similar and DNA.
Right.
We all share DNA up to 70%.
Yep.
So we are very similar, and the DNA that is helping some organisms to live hundreds, thousands of years, we have the same DNA. It's just that we do not stimulate it. So one way of stimulation of the part of DNA is adversity. So staying hungry is one. Staying very cold is the other. So intense cold.
Sounds awful.
It sounds awful. Intense cold, intense heat, hunger would stimulate the regenerative part of your DNA, and you'll repair your DNA.
Right. So things like cold plunges. Do you do cold plunges?
Yes. So I do cold plunges. I do cryotherapy, where you get into this chamber and liquid nitrogen can freeze you.
Yep.
Then infrared saunas, high intensity interval training. These are some things we do.
And what about your diet, if you don't mind me asking? Where do you put your focus? What sort of foods do you eat to stay healthy?
I try and eat a lot of plants, a little bit of seafood and some meat, very little meat, but mostly plant-based.
Yep. So do you avoid red meat and things like that?
I would have it very rarely.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the taste of it, but try not to eat much.
Because there are benefits, right?
There are benefits.
To iron and those sorts of things.
True.
But I guess just like in everything, it's moderation, right?
Moderation is the key.
Yep.
I think more plant-based and a little bit of meat is a good mix.
And do you maintain a fairly active lifestyle? Like, do you go to the gym? Do you lift weights? Do you do cardio, that sort of thing?
Been going to gym since I was 16, so a long time. A bit of cardio, a bit of high-intensity interval training lately, now that I'm 50 next year. So
You're 50?
I'll be next year, yeah.
You are. Well, you look very youthful, so whatever you're doing, it's working. So very good. So are there any other health, just small things that people could be doing just to, in day-to-day life to improve their health outcomes?
Well, I would certainly suggest them looking into something called NMN and resveratrol. Now, NMN is also known as nicotinamide mononucleotide. It's a molecule with...
It's a mouthful.
So NMN is nicotinamide mononucleotide, turns into something called NAD+. NAD+ is the energy in the cells, is the energy molecule. Now, we've got 30 trillion cells in a human's body.
Yep.
And you know how we were talking about when you're in your 30s, you lack the ability to repair. And that lack of ability comes from lack of NAD+.
Right.
Or when you say that I can't think that well, or when I can't run that well, it's because you're making less and less NAD+.
Okay.
But when you supplement in the morning with NMN, then you would be making more NAD+. So a 50-year-old like myself would have 50% less NAD+ than what I had when I was a toddler.
Right.
So if I expect myself to heal, think, run, perform like a younger person, I will have to take NMN.
Right. So how do you supplement with it?
It's just a powder that you can put under your tongue.
Right.
Or sometimes I take a scoop of NMN, which is 1,000 milligrams, mix it with a scoop of resveratrol, which is my other mouthful molecule that I was going to talk about, and have a little bit of yogurt and mix into a paste and eat it.
Okay.
Resveratrol is the wake-up call for those genes of longevity, which are, again, hidden, dormant in our DNA.
Yep.
Adversity wakes them up. So resveratrol is a molecule made by the grapevine when the plant went through adversity itself. So it's a smart-ass way of getting that adversity, taking it, and that resveratrol is going to talk to your genes,
Right.
because you and the grapevine are similar, 70%.
Yeah. And are these supplements, are they expensive?
They're not very expensive. There's a lot of sellers around. You can look them up.
Yep.
Look up the internet, and I don't think so. Chemists stock them, but you got to find.
You can find them
online.
if you look for them. Yeah.
Yes.
And the place where you were born, Punjab, do you ever get to visit much? Do you go back very often?
Yes, my mum lives there by herself still, so I go there at least twice a year.
Oh, great.
Yes.
And do you have other friends and family there, or is it just mainly mum?
Oh, my cousins and my uncle and aunts are still.
Yeah. And are they excited, for your visit and also for, the success you've had in life and music and that type of thing?
Yes, they do. We do share some moments of experience.
Yeah, great. The Territory Health System, how have you sort of seen it recently? We've had a lot of, I think it's the code yellows of late. How are you sort of seeing the health of our health system, for lack of a better term? Is it in a little bit of peril? Are there things that you've seen? And I don't want you to be too disparaging. That's not what I'm looking for. But is there a way that we could maybe be delivering better health outcomes for Territorians in your opinion?
I seriously believe wellness needs to come from the GP.
Right.
We are practicing, not just Territory, worldwide. We are practicing reactive medicine. So we wait for a person to get a disease and then we act on it. Proactive way is the better way. Encouraging health outcomes by encouraging the person to exercise, eat healthy, fast, take NMN or resveratrol,
Yep.
and maybe consider prolotherapy before surgery.
Right.
So simple measures. And Territory is no different from any other place. Every other place is same. Yes, we are a bit, out of the mainstream. We are far away from most main cities, and because of that, we do not have enough doctors and specialists. So hospital is always burdened, which is quite understandable. But yes, lately they've been in code yellow for that long.
Yep. So more of a proactive, preventative sort of approach as opposed to reactive, like you mentioned.
That's right. It would go a long way in just making the humanity better.
Yeah.
If we can go into those older years, younger, looking younger, feeling younger, without arthritis, without heart disease, without obesity, it would give back in multiple 1,000 times more.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those really interesting insights into both the music world and the medical side of things.
You're welcome.
At this stage of the podcast, we like to give our guests an opportunity just to promote anything that they're working on, business interests, music like you've got. Is there anything you'd like to, point our audience to maybe find a little bit more about what you've got going on?
Well, I probably would take the opportunity, thank you, for mentioning my YouTube channel. It's Satbir Aulakh Music. You can check me out on YouTube and Instagram.
All right. Well, Dr. Satbir, we really appreciate you coming in on a public holiday. We won't keep you any longer because I'm sure you're a busy man being a doctor and a musician and all those other things. So enjoy your long weekend, and we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Stuart, and thank you, Ethan.
Thanks, guys.
For having me here.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.